So, who are you guys?
That's a really good question. So this is two of three architects. Dan Morales is beside me. I'm Dave Andriozzi, and Elisa Curran is part of it. And with three architects from we're exactly the same and we're very different, but we have a common sort of belief that people should be looking at architecture should be simplified. It shouldn't be on a pedestal. It should be for all people at all levels. And that was sort of made the way it was by architects, sort of aloof and elite. And that there shouldn't be style wars, that there shouldn't be modern versus traditional. We think that that is sort of a myth, a polemic that was basically sort of invented or propagated in the beginning of the last century. And basically we've fallen into this trap where many things are modern versus traditional. When in reality, for hundreds and thousands of years before, modern was modern and modern was good. And all of a sudden, without getting into the styles, international style became modern and took over the word. So we're trying to just step back and go, you know what? All different styles of architecture can be good as long as they relate to people. Dan, I'd love your interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, every style that you build today is modern. Modern is obviously just of its time, and there's no harm in good branding and having modernists co-opted that word, good for them and all that. But it does make it really hard as a regular architect who does any style and tries to do them well, communicate. So, but I think at the end of the day, we're sort of, public taste is what it's all about. I mean, the buildings create the public realm, and therefore all the public has a right to like or dislike a place. And unlike the education that that David and I received, you can't dismiss the public, even if they don't know the history and all the verbiage of architectural talk and all that, because they ultimately would decide whether a place is good or bad. So how do we get back to whatever style it is, talking about architecture in terms of, does it produce delight? It's not just about innovation. It's not just about technology or some social program. It's about how it makes you feel in that space.
I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to determine a building's success or its acceptability is whether society keeps it and cherishes it, for decades and centuries. I mean, obviously some things are made for decades and other things are made for centuries. But the reality is that a lot of the design that's being celebrated now is being celebrated, which is sort of sculptural things that are actually meant to disturb you and upset you. And the architects will admit that in publication, that it's a commentary on society. And so those things, for the most part, they may be kitsch, they may win awards, but they're not going to be preserved 100 years from now because they're going to go out of date and people aren't going to get it, the next generation and the generation after that. So what is it that you can look at in design and architecture that we can connect all different styles to the people, the culture, and the vernacular, or the local place?